Rotate. Let me get situation together. Everything is your thing. Oh, that's it. Okay. Is that ready? That's it. Okay. What up? What up? What up? It's the one and only Super Tim here with a special Say What the Go-Go Show, the 2026 nominee for Best Go-Go Podcast. I don't do my podcast like everybody else. I just do whatever I do when I do what I do. And I just felt like doing this because I had something I wanted to say that I think the go-go world needs to hear. Because I'm the type of person I'm always thinking about. I'm always seeing stuff and then analyzing stuff and then thinking about why things are a certain way and how things can get better. So, as an OG, double OG,
thinking about why things are a certain way and how things can get better.
Double streaming and shit. Okay. So I'm watching YouTube as usual today, and the DMV Summer Jam, whatever they want to call it, out Tyson's Corner was yesterday. And I'm watching the videos, you know what I'm saying? Was it yesterday or Saturday? It was over the weekend. Who the fuck what day it was? So I'm watching everything and I'm listening to the music and I'm watching Junkyard and just kind of listening to the music. And I'm like, this is good fucking music. And then I started thinking like, no, this will happen. So I'm watching Junkyard and T-Bob's not with Junkyard anymore. And Junkyard in general, I'm just saying a bunch of old people. You know what I'm saying? They still doing their thing, but I'm saying the older people in the band, gray hair, and people ain't moving like they used to. But the guitar player, I don't know if it's guitar or bass, but the guy, the bass or guitar player, he's now moved into T-Bob's spot as the fourth man on the front line. And I'm thinking like, okay, he's a younger guy, probably late 30s, early 40s. And if anything ever happens and Bugs and them decided they wanted to move on, the younger guy could take over and you could still enjoy Junkyard music with a younger face. And it makes me think about the Chuck Brown band, who is now being fronted by Wiley Brown and still playing the same old Chuck Brown classics, the Soul Searcher classics, while having a younger face to front it. So I was thinking, if you have the younger face fronting the band, you don't really have to change the music. You just have to change the faces. So this is what I'm thinking. If you had the same music, because the music cranked, with just a younger band, how would that affect the younger crowd getting involved? Because again, it's not the music that the kids don't like. I'm gonna tell you why the kids haven't really gravitated to go-go. First and foremost, because we as the OG double OGs have not exposed our kids to go-go. When I was growing up, you know what I'm saying, the 80s, and we over grandma's house and my aunts and everybody, and we cooking and we doing our thing. We got Chuck Brown playing. We hearing Chuck Brown, Trouble Funk, EU, you know what I'm saying, as kids. Now you get into that's my balls. I'm sorry. Now we get into the 2000s and we're grown and we're having kids, but we're not playing go-go. I'm not saying everybody, but it's not as go-go wasn't on the radio a lot during the 2000s. I think like the last real go-go hit that was like an original go-go song was Shake It Out. That was like 2002. So without go-go on the radio for us to listen to with our kids on the radio, because it's radio edited, family friendly, or at least radio friendly music that we all can enjoy, then how is the kids getting the go-go? You got to play it at home. But if you're not playing it at home because you're worried about the lyrics and the content and all that stuff, then your kids are not being exposed to go-go. Um, so that's an issue. That's one reason why kids, I say 15 to 30, um, probably don't even understand go-go. I watched the video, and it was a teacher, he been in school asking kids in the high school to kind of identify go-go people. And he showed them a picture of Chuck Brown, and out of like 15, 20 kids, only one was like, oh yeah, that's Chuck Brown. Motherfucker was like, oh, that's Rick James, that's James Brown. They'd name all these other people, couldn't say Chuck Brown. Say like some people's like, oh yeah, that's a go-go guy. I'm like one or two people like, oh, that's the guy from Go-Go. I don't remember his name, but I remember his face. So we probably had like one out of every five that even knew to some extent who he was, even if they didn't know the name. Some knew the name, some recognized the face, couldn't remember the name. And that's because kids only know what they taught. If you didn't teach them go-go in the household, expose them to go-go in the household, they don't know go-go. Second thing is this: kids get their music through the internet, apps, things of that nature, digital platforms. When you give a kid a phone or a tablet and allow them to seek out music, if there's no go-go on streaming apps because nobody's making original music, then how can kids go on their phones on their own and find go-go? Now, yes, there is go-go on streaming apps. There's not a lot of new go-go. If you go on streaming apps, you'll find songs and some covers and some originals and some shit from the 80s, some shit from the 90s, some shit from the 2000s. You'll find somebody that puts some old school shows on YouTube or something like that. Like I say, even some of the bands will do live shows and put them online. So it's not there's not any go-go there. There's not a lot of new go-go, and go-go is not new go-go is not created on a regular enough basis for there to be a constant stream of music from today's go-go culture that the youth can just go on their phones and listen to. So you have younger bands. You got Pocket 3 is probably one of the most popular younger bands that consist of people, band members under 30. And you got Next Generation Band. That's another one. You got a couple of like junior high school bands that still kind of doing their thing, but not like really performing on a regular basis or playing music to the quality that they will be, I'm saying, doing shows. Pretty much just Pocket 3, Next Generation, and Crank. So when you listen to Next Generation Crank, you listen to Pocket 3, you got younger faces, but they're playing old people music. They're playing covers and playing old people music as opposed to just creating original music like we did in the 80s and 90s that can be on the radio that can relate to their youth. So when I've had conversations with people who are the OGs that are grooming or training or, you know what I'm saying, helping these younger folks understand go-go and asking them why do they have 18, 19, 20-year-olds playing 70s and 80s R&B, they say it's because the music nowadays are isn't good. That's not good music. It isn't. It's too vulgar, and the content is not good. Okay, I'm not good, but from like a quality standpoint, but like the content, like talking about drugs and guns and blah blah blah, as if didn't Junkyard say throw your guns in the air, buck, when I was back y'all throw your guns in the air and buck like you just don't care. And we was doing that in high school. But now our high school kids, we got to have all the goddamn Disney fucking nicey, positive. Look, just let the kids have what they have. Like we had what we had. You got to trust that your kids understand the difference in real life entertainment. And just because somebody might talk about drugs or hood shit in their music doesn't mean that they're going to do it. because we raised them better or we raised them right. I never heard a backyard song or a hip hop song and felt like I needed to go out and shoot somebody or sell some drugs. Not saying that there's not people out there that were influenced by gangster rap or go-go who made songs similar to gangster rap, um, that were influenced, but the vast majority of us went to go-go's as teenagers, as young adults. They was talking about the booty popping and a spotlight on the butt cheeks and throw your guns in the air and all that shit, and we just party. Why can't we help these young bands just make music that they enjoy and stop trying to relegate what they should or shouldn't hear? If you are OG and you helping a young band, you have to meet them where they are. Having them play 70s and 80s, fucking 90s R&B, how is that relating to their audience? Their audience is people their age. They're the ones like we did growing up that's gonna be fans in high school, early adulthood, and then be fans for the next 20, 30 years. Everybody that was out there partying with Junkyard or party with Backyard or whoever you party with from back in the day, you started partying with them back in the day. And now you out there with your gray hair and all that shit, and you still partying with them. So the younger bands need to have music that relates to have band members who look like them in music that they can relate to. If you doing covers, do covers of songs that they know and can sing along to, because it's not the music from like the style. Go-go is going crank. What are you saying over the beats? Who's talking and singing and rapping over the beats that the youth can relate to and see as themselves, and they're making music for me so that when we go out and party, we're gonna go party with a band that, you know what I'm saying, gives me what we want as a 15 to 30-year-old who grew up, you know what I'm saying, in the, what's this, 2026, who grew up in the 2010s and 2020s, you know what I'm saying, with a certain type of music. Now, again, if you were OG and you guiding a young band and you're not listening to music that the youngins is listening to, or at least understanding the music, then how can you say that there's no music that they can cover that isn't the vulgar, violent, drug-filled, coochie butthole brown shit? You might not like that shit, but this music ain't for you. This music is for them. And if they, you know what I'm saying, coochie pink and booty hole brown, and they can crank that shit, let them niggas crank it. Let the youngers crank what the fuck they're listening to and support what they're listening to and support what they're making. And when they make their own stuff, they can make their own stuff and they can crank, and they can be good music to party to, good music to sing along to. Everything ain't gotta be grown and sexy for everybody. These kids don't want grown and sexy, but they got these young motherfuckers doing grown and sexy. And if you're gonna do grown and sexy, at least do grown and sexy with today's artists. Do grown and sexy with Giveon. Do grown and sexy, you know what I'm saying, with Tyler. The ones that they doing the TikTok dances to and all that type of shit. If you are going to guide a young band and you are OG, 40 something, 50 years old, and you're not tapped into what the music business is, or what, you know what I'm saying, this generation of listeners are gravitating to, then you're not doing your band, you're doing your band a disservice. Having them do grown and sexy music, one. Two, doing grown and sexy music and covering music from when their fucking mamas was kids is not a long-term business model that will work for a band that's under 25. Again, they're musicians. Somebody should, one, be creating original music that their fan base should be able to go to, party. I can relate to the music. I can relate to what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like we did coming up. Even if you take, like I was saying earlier, with the Chuck Brown band, with Wiley, You know what I'm saying? He's younger, obviously, than Chuck, but he's still playing Chuck music that the older people enjoy, and he's still playing it to older people. Can if you and I don't think like Wiley is kind of, I mean, he ain't young, but he ain't old either. You know what I'm saying? What's Wiley like in his 30s, mid 30s? So if you take a youngin in his 20s and he hitting Chuck Brown shit, if you take a youngin in his 20s, get a front line in his 20s, drum in his 20s, Congo player in his 20s, and you doing the same music, but it's done by younger people, that same music that's always been classic, good music will now resonate more with younger audience because the people that's doing it look like me. These kids don't want to, the kids might like the music, like go-go and what go-go is, but they don't want to go to a fucking show with a bunch of old people. They don't want to go see a bunch of old people. So if you put the product, it's like taking, you know what I'm saying? It was a cartoon, Teen Titans. I want to say Teen Titans. You take any cartoon from the 80s. There's been cartoons from the 80s that was remade stylistically, like animation, like you did an animation one way in the 80s and shit when we was coming up. You could take the same fucking cartoon, a Garfield or Muppet Babies or something like that. Now you doing it in like the Pixar, you know what I'm saying, kind of style. And it's the same motherfuckers we grew up on. Ninja Turtles, that's the best one to say about. Ninja Turtles from the 90s, they did Ninja Turtles a certain way in the 90s, but you doing the same Ninja Turtles. You changing the style of animation and upgrading to what is new and now. And even though it's still the same Ninja Turtles, you got new kids fucking with Ninja Turtles who never knew what Ninja Turtles was, but you're presenting it to them in a form that they relate to because that's how all cartoons are nowadays. You're not showing them some old school animation. You give them new school animation, same old turtles. The new, you know what I'm saying, when you write them saying the scripts, you using updated lingo that the kids understand and the kids use. So if you take a band, you got junkyard music. You have youngins who look younger, dress younger, you know what I'm saying, present themselves younger. That music doesn't have to change, just how you present it so that people that are younger can be more drawn to it. We gotta expose our kids to go-go so they even know what the fuck it is. Teach them about go-go so they'll understand what the fuck it is. One. Two, the kids that are exposed to go-go and want to do go-go, and we're the ones that are teaching them about go-go to play it, need to, one, understand digital music, digital platforms, how that works. Two, understand the music that they're listening to and indulge in and immerse yourself into what the kids is listening to so you have a better understanding of what's out there so you can find music that is good music that's, and let the kids be the leaders. Let the kids that are in the band lead the band, and you just handle the business aspect. You take what they want to do and guide them. Instead of telling them, "Oh, we're gonna do this, Tevin Campbell, we're gonna do this Sade." No, what do you all want to do? Okay, that's what you want to do. Let me show you how to do it to make it crank. Even if you don't like the music personally, it ain't about you. Stop making go-go for the youth. Stop trying to emulate what we did 30, 40 years ago and thinking that kids nowadays is going to fuck with it. They'll fuck with the music. If you look at hip hop music turned 50, what, 2, 3 years ago. Now go-go turning 50 this year. Go-go, how go-go is presented has evolved in some ways, but in the rawest form of hip hop is still beats and bars. How you make the beats has changed. You know what I'm saying? People have evolved to do beats, you know what I'm saying, make different type of beats, how you rap, how you do your cadence. Like all that might have evolved and be different now, but it's still at its very, you know what I'm saying, basis, still beats and fucking bars. So go-go music don't have to change. You know what I'm saying? It can still be congos and drums, horns, keyboards, whatever the case may be. But when you look on this, when I'm 20 years old and I look on the stage, I'm supposed to see a nigga like look like me. When that nigga that look like me playing that music, they need to play music that I can relate to. Because if you're not doing what if you're not doing what I can relate to from somebody I can relate to, then they're not gonna fuck with it. Expose your kids to go-go so they can know that it exists, hear it, to fall in love with it. Those who want to do go-go, let them lead what they want to do creatively, and us as the OGs just guide them. We may not like the music, we may not understand the music, but they're not making it for us. They're making it for their generation, the next generation. So for the next 20, 30 years, we'll have new go-go bands with new fans and can go into another generation of go-go community once the bands that we go see now are done. You can't get Bugs and G and Ra and Scooby and, you know what I'm saying, they ain't gonna be around but for so goddamn long. And we can't keep thinking that that is what's gonna carry go-go for another 20 years when the nigga 60 years old. Motherfuckers 55, 60 years old, been doing this shit 30, 40 motherfucking years. And we think, how long you think they're gonna do it? Chuck Brown gone, Benny gone. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers either stop doing it because they just old or they stop doing it because they're dead. And then what's happening after that? What's happening after the OGs that's been doing it since the 80s and 90s get too old to do it and just stop or just fucking do it until they dead? If we ain't got no bands that's been coming up and doing it, now you got your bounce beat bands that's, you know what I'm saying, they've been doing it for about 20 years, so they'll be around because they're in their late 30s, maybe early 40s. Some of those people. I was watching Lizzo and UCB today. It's a couple dudes on UCB got some gray in their face. You know what I'm saying? In their little, like say late 30s, early 40s. And they could be around for another 15, 20 years into their 50s and the early 60s if they want to. And their crowd that was early 20s and early 2000s are still rocking with them. They can do that. But then who's next? So we got the 80s and 90s bands. So the 80s bands, Essence, EU, Trouble Funk, shit like that. Then you get into your Junkyard. Then you get into your late 80s, early 90s. Then you get your groovers and your backyards and your OP tribes and all that. Even though back and groovers are still kind of the only like real 90s band that's still around. But then you get to your early 2000s and you get your UCBs and TCBs and bands like that, your TOBs, your reaction bands that came in the early 2000s. Now here we are in the 2020s. Now we need new bands from the 2020s that are in high school, early adults that's going to be around until they're 50 for the next 20, 30 years. But if they haven't been exposed to go-go, to want to do go-go, then we're limited from who will be doing go-go. If the kids aren't listening to go-go to want to enjoy go-go, then who's the fans? Then who's the fans that are in their teens and early 20s that's asking for go-go in spaces that are for them? Don't ask some 21-year-old. So you 21, you gotta get in the club, but you get a 21-year-old trying to go see some go-go, and they in there with a bunch of 50-year-olds. You think a 21-year-old want to go to the club and be dancing with a 50-year-old old man? No, they don't. They want to party with people like them and go. They want to go see a band that looks like them. They want to party with other people that look like them. But if we don't have the bands that look like them, that are playing music that they fuck with in the go-go style because they've been exposed to go-go and enjoy go-go, then how are we going to get go-go for the next 20 years, 30 years? Because again, the junkyards, the backyards, groovers, all them, they eventually gonna be too old to just do it till they die. Then the reaction bands, TOBs, and all them, they're gonna be doing their thing for another 20 years. But then in 2040, what are we gonna have? So if you want go-go to continue beyond 2040, 2045, and we aren't establishing a love of go-go with our youth and establishing go-go musicians that are younger and creative and making music for their friends and their peers, then after 2045, all we gonna be doing, and we ain't gonna be doing shit. I was gonna say all we be doing is listening to old go-go, but then the old go-go not gonna be listened to by as many people unless you're a youngin that do know about go-go and want to go back and check out some old go-go from when your grandma was a teenager. So we gotta change our ways and stop thinking that the old school go-go is the end all be all. We got to stop holding on to old school go-go and stop thinking that it shouldn't evolve into something else. Stop thinking that the youngest are supposed to gravitate to our style of go-go and what we did, because ain't no generation of musicians, ain't no generation really fuck with the music of the previous generation or the previous generation's musicians. You look at a kid, you know what I'm saying, that's in his 30s that grew up on Drake. He gonna look at a motherfucker like Q-Tip and be like, who the fuck is this nigga? He gonna look at a Most Def or a Talib like, who the fuck is these niggas? Not knowing that these niggas got bars for days. But because that's my mother and father, I'm saying, yeah, I fuck with the music. I fuck with the hip hop music, but I don't fuck with these old heads. So they gravitate to artists who do the music that they like, you know what I'm saying, that look like them, they can relate to, you know what I'm saying, that do it for my generation. If you got something out of this, cool, 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 cool. If we can take what I said today and implement that through DC culture, go-go culture, the go-go community, so we can make sure beyond 2025, we still got bands out here doing go-go, then let's make moves to make sure our youngins that was born after 2005 are exposed to go-go, understand go-go, fall in love with go-go, so that we can have these kids that were exposed to go-go and love go-go to now want to make go-go. So that 2045, we got bands that been doing it for 10 years, that got a strong fan base for 10 years, and then their kids can start loving go-go, and then their kids will take over after them in 2065. And then by 2021, we still got go-go being made, go-go being, you know what I'm saying, created, go-go lovers being, you know what I'm saying, created. But we got to be the ones who change our ways and thinking that old school go-go is the end all be all. And if you don't do it like we did it back in the day, you ain't doing it right. And go-go gonna die. I'm the one and only SupaTim. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you want to be a part of Say With the Go-Go Show, you want to talk with the one and only SupaTim about go-go on the 2026 Go-Go Award nominated podcast, Say With the Go-Go Show, and then make sure you follow me. At either What Up Super on IG or Forever Love the Crank, the number 4, EverLuhdacrank radio. Either one, I'll fuck with you. Until next time, catch me in the streets, catch me in the studio, catch me online, because if you ain't there, you ain't nowhere. I'm the one and only SupaTim.